Imagine two people receive exactly $10,000. Same amount, same day, same opportunity. The first person thinks, what can I buy? Maybe a better phone, a better car, a vacation, something they've wanted for years. The second person asks a completely different question. What can this $10,000 become? That question sounds simple, but there is a massive psychological difference between those two ways of thinking. One person sees money as something to consume. The other sees money as something that can potentially produce. And that difference can compound over decades. Now, before we continue, let's make something clear. This video is not claiming that every wealthy person is intelligent, disciplined, or self-made. Some people become wealthy through inheritance, some through business, some through high-income careers, some through investments, some through luck, and some through circumstances they never had to create themselves. Likewise, someone who isn't wealthy isn't necessarily lazy, unintelligent, or financially irresponsible. Reality is much more complicated than that. So when I say rich people think differently, I'm talking about recurring financial patterns and mental models, not a universal personality trait. Because wealth isn't simply about how much money enters your life. It is also about what you believe money is for, what you do with it, and how far into the future you're willing to think. And that's where this gets interesting. Most people are taught to think about money through one simple equation. Work, get paid, spend, repeat. You work for your salary. Your salary pays your bills. Whatever remains gets spent or saved. Then you repeat the process next month. There's nothing inherently wrong with this. It's how most people live. But wealth building introduces another question. What do I own that can potentially produce value without requiring me to trade every hour for money? That's the difference between thinking primarily about income and thinking about assets. Imagine two people. Person A earns $100,000 a year, but they spend almost all of it. Expensive car, large house, constant upgrades, luxury vacations. Their income is high, but their ability to build wealth may be surprisingly weak. Person B earns $70,000, but they consistently use part of their income to acquire productive assets, build a business, invest, or develop valuable skills. Their income is lower, but their financial structure may be moving in a completely different direction. This is why income and wealth are not the same thing. Income is money coming in. Wealth is what remains and what can continue producing value. The psychological shift is subtle. Instead of asking, how much can I earn? You eventually start asking, what can I build or own? And that question changes your decisions, because a person who thinks only about income may always need to work for the next payment. A person thinking about assets is trying to build something that can continue working after the initial effort. That doesn't mean everyone needs to become an entrepreneur. It means understanding the difference between earning money and building financial capacity. Here's one of the biggest psychological differences. Humans naturally value immediate rewards. You can understand this without knowing anything about finance. You'd rather receive $100 today than wait for $100 next year. That's normal. The future is uncertain. The present is real. But wealth accumulation often requires doing something psychologically uncomfortable. Delaying a reward. Imagine you receive $1,000. You could spend it today. The pleasure is immediate. Or you could invest it and allow it time to potentially grow. The second choice doesn't feel as exciting. Nothing dramatic happens tomorrow. And that's precisely why many people struggle with it. Compounding is boring at the beginning. Then, if given enough time and a reasonable return, it can become extremely powerful. Your money isn't only generating returns. Those returns can potentially generate additional returns. So the important variable isn't simply how much you invest, it's also how long you give the process to work. This is why someone who starts investing and saving at 20 can have a completely different trajectory from someone who waits until 35 or 40. Not necessarily because they invested more, but because they gave the process more time. And this creates an important psychological lesson. You are constantly exchanging your present for your future. When you spend money, you're choosing present consumption. When you save or invest, you're choosing future potential. Neither choice is automatically good or bad. The question is, are you consciously choosing the exchange? Here's another mental shift. Most people evaluate a purchase with one question: can I afford this? If there's enough money in the bank, the answer is yes. But financially sophisticated thinking adds another question: what is this really costing me? Imagine you have $1,000 available. You buy something for $1,000. The obvious cost is $1,000. But there's another cost: the opportunity you gave up. That $1,000 could have been invested. It could have been used to develop a skill. It could have been used to start something. It could have remained as an emergency reserve. This is called opportunity cost, and you don't need to be wealthy to understand it. In fact, understanding it early can be extremely valuable. But there's another important point. This doesn't mean wealthy people never buy expensive things. They do. Someone can spend $10,000 on a vacation and genuinely value that experience. The point isn't never spend money. The point is understand the exchange. You're not simply exchanging money for an object. You're exchanging money for something while giving up every other possibility that money could have created. That's a completely different way of looking at consumption. Now we get to one of the most important concepts in wealth creation: leverage. Your time is limited. You have 24 hours in a day. You cannot work 100 hours every day. So if your income depends entirely on the number of hours you personally work, there is a natural ceiling. Leverage changes that equation. Money can be leverage. People can be leverage. Technology can be leverage. Knowledge can be leverage. Media can be leverage. Imagine a person spends 10 hours creating something. If that thing can only help one person once, the output is limited. But imagine creating something that can help thousands of people. The relationship between effort and output changes. That's leverage. A business owner can build a team. A software developer can create software that serves thousands of users. An investor can put capital into productive assets. A creator can make one video that continues reaching people after it was uploaded. This is why wealthy thinking often focuses on questions like, how can I multiply my output rather than only? How can I work harder? Working hard still matters, but hard work without leverage can become an endless treadmill. You work, you get paid, you stop working. The income stops. Leverage asks, can I build something that continues producing value beyond this exact moment? That doesn't guarantee wealth, but it changes the structure of the game. People often say, rich people aren't afraid of risk. I don't think that's accurate. Many wealthy people understand that risk can destroy wealth just as easily as it can create it. The difference is often not the absence of fear. It's the attempt to understand the risk. Imagine someone putting $10,000 into an investment because a stranger online promised, "You'll double your money in 3 months." That's not necessarily courage. It might simply be poor risk assessment. Now imagine someone considering a business. They ask, how much can I lose? How much can I potentially gain? What happens if the business fails? How much money do I need to survive? What evidence do I have? Can I test the idea before risking everything? That's a completely different psychological process. It's the difference between, I hope this works, and I understand what happens if I'm wrong. This is one of the most important financial skills you can develop. You don't need to eliminate risk. You need to understand it, because avoiding every risk can prevent growth. But taking risks you don't understand can destroy everything you've built. So perhaps the better principle is, risk isn't the enemy. Unmanaged risk is. Here's where money and psychology become interesting. Most people encounter a problem and ask, why is this happening to me? A problem-solving mindset asks, why does this problem exist? And then another question, can I solve it? And eventually, would solving it create value for someone? Imagine you're standing in a long queue. Most people see an annoying queue. Someone else might ask, why is the queue so long? Why is the process slow? Could technology improve it? Could the system be redesigned? That's how entrepreneurial thinking often begins. Not with, I want to become rich, but with, there is a problem here. The financial reward, when it comes, is often connected to the value created by solving problems. This doesn't mean every problem should become a business. It means training yourself to see problems as systems rather than simply inconveniences, instead of asking, why is my life difficult? Sometimes ask, what exactly is creating the difficulty? That question alone can change how you think. Here's one of the biggest traps. You earn $3,000 a month, then your income increases to $5,000. So you upgrade everything. Better apartment, better car, more restaurants, more subscriptions, more expensive vacations. Then your income becomes $8,000, and the same thing happens again. Your income increased, but your financial freedom didn't increase proportionally. This is called lifestyle inflation, and it's one reason someone can earn a very high income and still feel financially trapped, because their lifestyle expanded alongside their income. This creates an important distinction. Getting richer and looking richer are not the same thing. A person can look wealthy while having enormous debt. Another person can live relatively modestly while quietly accumulating substantial assets. You usually can't see someone's balance sheet by looking at their clothes, car, or house. Social media makes this even worse. We see the vacation. We don't see the credit card bill. We see the luxury car. We don't see the financing. We see the expensive lifestyle. We don't see the financial structure behind it. So the question isn't, how much can I spend when I earn more? A better question is, how How much of my increased income can I convert into increased financial freedom? Here's where everything comes together. Many people approach money through motivation. They say, this month I'll save more. I'll stop wasting money. I'll invest next month. But motivation is unstable. Systems are different. Instead of saying, I need to remember to save, you can create a system where money automatically moves towards savings instead of, I need to stop overspending. You can create limits and separate accounts instead of, I need to learn about investing. You can schedule time every week to study. The goal isn't to become a perfect person. The goal is to create an environment where good decisions become easier and bad decisions become harder. This applies beyond money. You don't need to constantly ask yourself whether you should exercise if exercise is already part of your routine. You don't need to repeatedly negotiate with yourself about studying if you've already created a schedule. Systems reduce the number of decisions you have to make, and that's powerful because your brain has limited attention. The financially mature question becomes, how can I design my financial life so that I don't have to rely on willpower every day? Now we need to destroy a dangerous idea, the idea that if you just think like a rich person, you'll become rich. No, it's not that simple. Mindset matters. But mindset doesn't erase reality. A person born into wealth starts with advantages that another person may never have. Education matters, family circumstances matter, health matters, location matters, access to capital matters, networks matter, economic conditions matter, opportunity matters, and luck matters. You cannot reduce all of that to work harder and think positively. That's motivational entertainment, not serious financial analysis. And this distinction matters because if we tell people wealth is purely a mindset, we create another problem. If someone struggles financially, they may conclude, I must be mentally defective. That's not necessarily true. But here's the part you can control. You can improve your understanding of money. You can improve your financial habits. You can develop valuable skills. You can increase your earning potential. You can reduce unnecessary financial leaks. You can learn how investing works. You can build systems. You can become better at evaluating risk. You cannot control every variable, but you can improve the variables that are actually within your control. And that's much more useful than pretending everything is mindset. Let's return to where we started. Two people receive $10,000. The first person asks, what can I buy? The second asks, what can this become? The difference isn't necessarily intelligence. It isn't morality. It isn't even income. It's the question. And that may be the biggest lesson in this entire video. Instead of asking, can I afford this? Sometimes ask, what is this really costing me? Instead of asking, how can I make more money? Ask, what valuable problem can I solve? Instead of asking, how can I work harder? Ask, how can I create leverage? Instead of asking, how can I look wealthy? Ask, how can I become financially free? And instead of thinking about money only as something you earn and spend, start thinking about money as a resource that can be directed. You can consume it, you can save it, you can invest it, you can use it to buy time, you can use it to develop skills, you can use it to build something. The goal isn't to become obsessed with money. Money is a tool. The deeper goal is to understand what you're doing with that tool, because wealth doesn't necessarily begin when you have more money. Sometimes it begins when you start asking better questions about the money you already have. And perhaps that's what thinking differently about money really means. Not becoming someone else, not pretending to be a billionaire, not copying someone's lifestyle, just learning to see the choices in front of you more clearly. Because your financial future is being built by decisions you're making today, whether you consciously think about them or not.